Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. This is our last Come Back Strong free masterclass webinar as part of the Come Back Strong campaign. And I am absolutely delighted to be joined today by Bums on Seats. Welcome, Amber. Welcome, Dee.
Hey, Dan. Thanks for having us. It's good to you saved the best till last, I have to say.
Absolutely. I'm excited. I'm excited. And Bums on Seats, I think it's fair to say, handful of people this year, as far as suppliers to the sector, that have just kept the momentum going, kept the passion going, kept the happiness going, really pulled out all of the stops. And you guys have absolutely smashed it. You've just been here, there, everywhere, doing whatever you could to help the sector, which has been incredible. So I'm chuffed to bits that you're our penultimate webinar, guys.
Oh, well, look, very kind. And obviously, Dan, you the same. What you guys have done as well with everything for the last 12 months is phenomenal. So yeah, good stuff.
I'm going to hand over. I'm going to crack on. I'm going to sit back and not have a drink. It's not quite that time yet, but sit back and let you guys crack on. And I look forward to hearing what you've got to say.
Awesome, thank you. So hello, everybody. I am delighted to be joined by my Ops Director, Dee Sturgess. We are Bums on Seats. For those that don't know us, we are strategic sales and business development experts. We're in year 3. There's 20 of us in the company, and we work with everything from big multinational groups like Green King, right the way down to smaller independents like Creative Hospitality Group. We drive strategic sales. We identify, analyze businesses, and most importantly, activate and deliver sales plans and opportunities to get those all-important bums on seats. Dee, do you want to just quickly introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Dee Sturgess. I have been with Bums on Seats since the beginning, since Amber created the company in 2019, and I have spent all my life working in hospitality. I started off in operations, and then I moved over to the dark side and worked in sales as an independent consultant. And I've worked with many big brands from Stonegate and Deltic right the way through to smaller independents. So I'm delighted to join you today for this masterclass.
Awesome. So Dee and I are the perfect tag team, hopefully, and we're going to be taking you through a quick introduction, bit of an overview of the last 12 months. Let's not dwell on that too much, but obviously there's been a lot of learnings that are really positive to take forward for this year. What does the customer really want in 2020? Some basic kind of customer journey essentials for you to think about and get your head around and hopefully implement. What are all the opportunities for sales and organic growth this year? And if we get time, we will run you through what we feel are the trends and various levels of innovation that are going to continue or be dropped in for this year that you guys can capitalize on to absolutely drive bums on seats. So everything we're talking to you about today is all around sales, sales, sales. So bit of an introduction. Dee, do you want to run through this bit?
Yeah, thank you. So as Amber said, very much the focus in 2020, and particularly the last quarter for us, was drilling in on this business resilience. And we created 4 pillars of resilience identified as being the most crucial to our sector. And these 4 areas were things that we consistently found existed in the most resilient businesses within hospitality. So this was being adaptive, being agile, innovative in your product offering and your business, but ultimately being more customer centric. So these were our focus for 2020, but obviously as we move into 2021, still very, very much a key importance in hospitality. So the strategy built on adapting your business and working with rather against these COVID trading conditions. The one word that kept coming up and again, it's one of our favourites at Bums on Seats, it is pivot. We love to pivot, don't we, Amber?
We do. We're doing it all the time. Right now, actually, Dee.
Always. The pandemic trading conditions, meant that we had to stop being resistant to change, that it did become a thing of the past. And I think we can all say, regardless of which area in hospitality you work, from hotels to traditional pubs and restaurants, we have traditionally in our sector possibly been a little bit resistant to change. So we've learned to pivot more as time's taken us through this pandemic. So ultimately, are you ready for the next visit, please? Yes, we know we're all ready for the next visit, please. We cannot wait for that reopening date in May, but have we actually got all our ducks in order? Is your business and your business model really ready for that next visit? So we looked at the agility and taking the agility in sales planning. So obviously it's not just changing your planning business model, but it's the fact, can you actually react very, very quickly through your operational team to adapt to these constantly changing conditions? We found lots of different innovation from makeaways to at-home experiences, and loads of great examples of better use of technology and digital platforms. Finally, hospitality was dragged kicking and screaming into the 21st century. But very much, again, that this absolutely pivoted and reframed strategy, teams, and complete business culture. So some of our favorite examples from businesses that moved very quickly with adapting their models, and Yummy Pub Company had some great letterbox cocktails that obviously in the art of mystery shopping and comparing products, we did indulge in, didn't we, Amber?
Yeah, I think we tried them all twice, I think, Dee, which was great. Very good.
Big favourite of ours, Bums on Seats. We do love Dishoom, and they took their hero product, the bacon naan roll, and turned it into a brilliant make-away experience that was beautifully packaged, that did exceptionally well from them. And Hawksmoor proving that the dine at home experience can be a real premium experience, and many different operators with some great examples of taking the takeaway and the delivery to a much higher level as a premium experience at home.
I think it's worth saying as well that what we're seeing, especially if you look at Dishoom and Hawksmoor, you know, they're literally fully booked for the next 6 weeks. So all that activity that they did throughout lockdown, how they pivoted for the takeaway experience, has absolutely stood them in really good stead for reopening for the outside areas, and obviously post 17th of May as well. So all of this activity is only driving forward those bums on seats. Now customers can come back and visit because it's putting them at the forefront of your mind. And actually none of this stuff stops, does it, Dee? This just needs to continue.
Absolutely. You know, they're all really great examples of cross revenue, you know, and they weren't just a stopgap to keep businesses going when we couldn't actually trade. They're actually now going to form a really important part of businesses having this cross revenue, which I think we've all seen the benefit from in terms of creating our business resilience, that we don't just have one revenue stream from customers that visit, that there's so many different layers that we can operate from.
I think the other key part for us at Bums on Seats, we've created this mantra around, you know, what's the perfect process for that key customer relationship, and why we talk a lot at the moment around that next visit and that customer loyalty. A lot of that does have to come from the relationship that you build. And we believe in Bums on Seats that 70% of the whole reason why a customer would use you and go to you and be loyal to your business is down to the relationship. And actually that can be built through lots of different channels now. So obviously when we're talking to consumers, it's all about digital and tech. It's all about that digital marketing bit. But there's some really smart ways that you can build that relationship through those platforms and that forum. Only 20% of the reason why a customer will choose you is based on your product and your product knowledge, because 70% of it is about, do you match my needs and my wants? Do I feel that I can trust you? Do you have that rapport with me? And that's sort of, that hasn't gone anywhere. If anything, because of COVID, we're all a little bit more human. I mean, most of us, there's obviously exceptions, but most of us are. So that opportunity to create a relationship with your customer and your guest is far greater than it's ever been. And this is a really important part. And I think when we're looking at that hospitality experience now back indoors and back outside, it's got to be that good old fashioned bit around how are we meeting and greeting. It's almost less of a focus now on safety and more on that relationship building and rapport, which is really good news for our sector, because obviously that's what we do. We're givers, we work in hospitality, we're all about that. And why we've put this in here as an important slide is it's so easy to just keep thinking about bottom line and capitalizing on spaces and etc, but don't don't forget the impact of that relationship with your guests. And as I said, we're going to show it to you a bit later, but there's lots of smart ways with tech that you can actually achieve and do that, because we know everybody's under-resourced at the moment and know everyone's still recovering financially. But it's a really important part of any sales experience is to talk about that 70%. How are you building that relationship with your guest and your customer? And obviously, you know, on from that, the whole safety element, as I've mentioned, it really, we know how to do that now. We had what, 54, 55 different changes from the government last year. We've got that down. According to Boris, fingers crossed, there's not going to be another lockdown. We don't know what the restrictions are going to be past 21st of June completely. It's all looking really positive, but we've got to almost change our mindset really quickly and start thinking about how do we thrive? How do we create those unique reasons to visit? How do we become memorable? How do we build that relationship? And making sure that you are all destinational. We often look at businesses in two ways at Bums on Seats. So what are you doing in your community and what are you doing as a destination? And it depends on what you can offer. And why, again, we talked about sort of Dishoom and Hawksmoor is because they've taken their hero products and they've given a reason to buy based on what they're famous for. And that concept is something that you should take into putting Bums on Seats and pre-bookings for this year. It's really, really important because competition is higher than ever. And yes, you know, we know trying to find space at the moment for the next 3 or 4 weeks is a real challenge, especially at peak times. But don't be fooled, because there's nothing to say that will continue for the rest of this year. You know, yes, demand is there, but at some point it's going to start to peter out. So you've got to put the forefront, what are those reasons to visit and how am I a destination, so that I'm first choice of customers when this current flurry does start to peter out, which inevitably will do a little bit. This is a great example of an increase in bookings from Design by Knight and Collins. We work with all the booking systems, all the booking providers, and all of them across the board have seen a huge increase in bookings. Obviously, this is no big news. Anyone who's been open outside in the last few weeks will know this, they will feel this. It's amazing, and it's a great problem to have. And actually saying it's a problem is probably counterproductive. But the point to this is, yes, the demand is there, but how are you making that work for you? Because we know no-shows have increased, because we know competition has arrived, and because we know that at some point it is going to start to peter out. And the rest of this presentation is really talking to you about the strategy around how do you make sure that you maintain a high level of bookings and maximum capacity management throughout the rest of this year.
Absolutely. So one thing that we have identified within these huge amounts of inbound and interest in pre-booking is looking at what the customer really, really wants. Now, obviously, the right product offering is going to be key with that. And we know that many businesses have had to adapt at the moment for the outside al fresco only offering. But one thing that's come up again and again for us is we need to have an experience that meets expectations. And probably it'd be fair to say that never before have customers' expectations pre-visit being so very, very high. And for most people that have spent months or sometimes even up to a year at home, that they haven't experienced hospitality or going out, for people that live on their own, that have missed their friends and missed socializing. We've all had our own challenges in terms of why we have missed going out and socializing. But what that's meant is that our expectation pre-visit is exceptionally high. So as Amber said, it's very, very important that we understand, yes, of course, we need to still focus on safety, but rather than this be a very clinical COVID-based experience, that we need to make sure that the experience from pre-booking right the way through to the point that the customer visits really meets what the customer is looking for.
And actually, Dee, that all becomes a lot easier once you have that relationship with your guest, don't you? And again, you know, that whole relationship bit is so key in here. I mean, you know, things are going to go wrong now. And I know a lot of operators that have had issues with overbooking or customer expectation not being met. And a lot of that is just because, you know, we've been shut for so long and some people, we haven't got enough staff, so on and so forth. But if you get the relationship bit right, you know, you can eliminate a lot of those issues before they become real issues. So it's going to be really interesting to see what's happening with online reviews over the next few weeks. But it's certainly something that I would put as a key KPI for GMs, because it just helps with all of the future pre-bookings and that next visit as well.
Absolutely. It's customer experience, and being customer centric is really, really going to take #1 priority for 2021. So we've seen some really good examples of flexibility and transparency. Again, you know, in the past, it's something that our industry has possibly not been too great on, but I think, you know, we've all moved forward and we understand that we need to have flexible booking terms and be really, really transparent. Yes, of course, we want to be taking deposits or pre-booking payments to make sure that we can secure those pre-booked spaces that are so precious. But we do, as an industry, need to continue to be flexible, and this has definitely given customers great confidence in pre-booking and pre-booking with deposits, and they know that they're going to have this flexibility to be able to move bookings and move deposits. Contactless booking, ordering and payment. I think we've moved mountains, Amber, compared to where we were a couple of years ago.
Yeah, massively. I mean, there's something like 164 different pay and, you know, pay apps at the moment, which is just insane. But it's certainly, you know, people love or hate it, I think, but it's certainly something that's not going anywhere, especially along the lines of, you know, everyone being cashless, etc. So getting the right app for you on order and pay is so important.
Absolutely, and all of these areas are joining up that whole customer journey with some lovely customer profiling information. And I think we've come on leaps and bounds from years ago that it might just be having someone's contact email or telephone number to contact them about offers. But we've really moved forward from that in having this detailed customer profiling.
Yeah.
What the customer really wants a good reason to visit, don't they, Amber?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, that is everything from the experience that they expect to receive to the, you know, the type of hero product that you're offering, right the way through to your price point, which I think is this is a really interesting bit around, you know, how are customers going to be spending money with you this year?
Absolutely. So we've looked at many different insights through the pandemic, right the way through to the last month of opening. And I'm sure everyone will agree from your personal experience within your own friends and family set that there's definitely two types of consumers that are emerging post-lockdown. We know that there are some people that are lucky to be better off and that they're very much seeking revenge spending. They might have saved their commuting costs. They've had possibly no impact to their job or their income, and they've got some serious money to spend. They're going to be looking for premium luxury, and there's this real pent-up demand for them to spend on social treats. But equally, we do know that many of us are financially worse off, and I think it's fair to say that includes all of us that work in hospitality. In terms of how our jobs and income have obviously been affected, but yeah. Of course, we do still want to go out. We want to go out and eat. We want to go out and party. We want to go out and socialise and see our friends. But those customers are definitely going to be seeking some value for money. Now, that isn't always based around discounting or certainly having a cheap or inferior experience, but definitely looking towards that dynamic pricing module that you may have a great value entry price for your product or your offering, but that then you have multiple bolt-on offers for those customers that maybe do want to indulge or spend a little bit more. And it's also obviously going to be looking at rewarding your regular customers. And we're going to talk a little bit more about how we can use gifting within customer rewards a little later.
Yeah, I think that the key here is you've got to believe in your product, and you know, Bums on Seats, we never advise discounting. It's a really bad lever. But what you can do, to Dee's point, because we know that if you have a group of 6, for example, half the group might be financially better off, half might be financially worse off. That's certainly the same in some of my friendship groups. So how do you create menus and options that fit both? It's exactly the same pain that we went through when you know the world of vegan really took off a few years ago. And if you didn't have a great vegan option, there was one vegan in the group, then they wouldn't book you. And actually this is a similar type of concept. So I think really carefully around what are those packages, what's your entry level, and then what are your additional bolt-ons to increase that spend per head that can give both a premium and an entry feel for both types of spender. And that's quite, I think we're seeing that a lot with some businesses that are really taking hold of this and creating some great options that will work for both of those people. The other part of this is obviously looking at how, as an operator, do you take take all of the stuff that we know that customers want, but actually make it work for you. Because we believe firmly that all relationships, any relationship, should be mutually beneficial. And actually that is the definition of the perfect sale, where both the seller and the buyer, in whatever element, are getting something out of it. So here are just some tips from us. And within our own sales team, our own guest experience team, we key performance indicate them based on some of these levers. So for example, how do you make sure that you've got your spaces and rooms looked at in fresh eyes, and they're repurposed for the government changes, so the rules of 6, the outside dining, so on and so forth. Make sure that all your bookable space is utilised, and track capacity. So there's some really good ways of doing that. Ideally, depending on the type of business that you are, you don't really want the GM to be able to close off and open up capacity. You do want that managed at group level, but you can audit that yourselves through your booking system. It's really, really important. If you have the right system, it will be as smart as to be able to advise different shoulder times, different times customers can book, and recommend other times if certain times are full. And it's so, so important that you review that system and get it set up correctly, because it's still going to have, you're still going to have limited capacity for the next couple of months at least. So this bit, the first bit of capacity management and putting that top of your agenda for your company culture and your manager, is key. The second bit, which we talk about loads, is CRT, customer response time. It has to be immediate. And again, you know, at the moment, for less than 6, your booking system should do all of that work for you. But from June opening, if we're taking bigger groups, and we're seeing loads of people wanting to book for Christmas already, and up to groups of 30 for post-June. So how are you going to make sure you get back to your customers quickly? Because honestly, there is a direct relationship between your speed of response and the amount of business that you confirm. It is absolutely factual. The other thing is forward planning. You know, Euros are coming up. It's amazing how many businesses still don't have Euros packages. We've seen hardly any Christmas packages out in the market at the moment, and I get that there are obviously operational challenges, and getting the venues open is number one priority. But the further in advance you can get experiences and options throughout the year for those key events done and promoted and set, even just to have it in your armory for when you do get inquiries, is absolutely vital, because we are seeing lead times of 3, 4, 5 months for bookings at the moment. So you've got to put some of those key elements on the agenda. Absolutely upselling, dynamic pricing. Just to explain dynamic pricing, it's looking at things like how do you price your peak and off-peak times differently? Looking at that spend per head bit is key. You know, how can you make sure that you're getting more out of your customer, more out of your guest? The more that they can buy in advance, the more they'll spend on the day. It works like a holiday, yeah? So you buy an all-inclusive package holiday 6 months in advance. When you go on holiday, you forget that you've paid for it and you spend more. So that concept is behavioural, and it's really, really important. The other thing on that is that customers are driven a lot by fear. So fear is our number one behavioural driver as a human being. So creating these options of saying, you know, these we're really, really busy, we recommend this is the best that we've got, that excitement, which you can do through comms and digital and tech as well, is pivotal, because they will then feel, oh, if I don't book this, I'll miss out. I have to do this, I want to be that booking superhero. So all that's really important. All those emotions that customers are feeling this year are really important and can work in our favour. Absolutely, now we should be looking at faster table turning and shoulder times. Yes, of course, we have to do the COVID clean. I get all of that. But actually, even if you went from 15 minutes to 10 minutes, that could make a difference. So start having a play around that as the GMs and your management teams and your ops teams get more comfortable. Always sell those pre-order packages where you can, because that will actually help with speed of service, which in turn helps with shoulder times and table turn times, and in turn obviously will drive you more cash in the bank. And absolutely, to Dee's point earlier, everything must be really transparent. We do still believe you're going to have a no quibble deposit, you know, guarantee. I do think we're still going to have to be quite firm on some of those things in terms of not asking too much from the guest, but just make it really transparent. Why do you need them to turn up on time? How do they cancel if they can't make it? You know, really review all of your comms, because you might think that they're there, but a lot of the time what we're seeing is they're still not as good as they could be. And it's really, really important. And as I said at the beginning, good old-fashioned hospitality and making sure you're following up, because if you are getting any issues with service or anything like that, if you follow it up and get it off the guest before it goes on social media or whatever else, before you can eliminate it and then get a repeat booking. And all of this is about getting that second and third visit, which is going to be crucial for business resilience. We know if a customer's visited you 3-4 times, they're generally a loyal guest. So that's absolutely key for you. We've also got some great customer journey essentials, which is our kind of 5 bits of mantra, which we look at for all of our clients, Dee, don't we?
Absolutely, yeah. So absolutely, a bit of a back to basics that never really goes away from us in Bums on Seats, because it is the foundation of every hospitality business. So as we said, that really great reason to visit. So is your product and your price offering right post lockdown? Does it really appeal to your customer profile? And communication, as we've just said, flexible, transparent. We know this drives confidence, and very much matching those customers' wants and needs, which in going back to our pivot term, we do need to really be mindful that our customers' wants and needs have definitely changed and evolved over the last 18 months. So probably the most important part of our customer journey essentials, and certainly something that we focus quite greatly on when we audit our new clients at Bums on Seats, is looking at your systems and process. So, obviously that starts with having the right tech solutions, having the right booking system. Is your marketing department and your source of those bookings in the first place, is all of that tied up correctly, from marketing to your website to your booking process? And how is that actually being managed in-house? Obviously we know that we've now got many great extra tech solutions in place, but it still needs that human touch in between to make sure that those unique customer inquiries that need a little bit more management are actually being picked up, and that we're picking up the phone, building those relationships and talking to our customers. So very much looking at your sales and booking process with fresh eyes post-COVID, and that you train your team on that best practice, and that they're completely invested in understanding how your customer journey works. And very much something that we're always keen on doing is encourage the whole team to walk through the customer journey, not just physically within the venue, but online through your social media, your booking platforms, and have a look at that digital customer journey with some fresh eyes to see if it is completely user-friendly and informative. We find, obviously, with upselling, as Amber said, if you've got that pre-booking in place, we know statistically that customers do have a higher spend per head if they've pre-booked and certainly prepaid in advance. That perception that I've paid for my booking, or as Amber rightly said, I've paid for my holiday already, that you naturally then spend more within visits. So we know that is a huge driver of supporting a strong spend per head. Customer experience, as we said, that experience that meets the expectations, and very much that now we've got the extra tech in place, that the contactless safety doesn't mean poor customer service, and that we need to keep that interaction. The fear factor, as Amber rightly said, we know that fear of missing out translates into social, and not just from the point that we post on social media, but there's some really great examples of customers and consumers that are obviously so excited to be back out in restaurants and pubs and bars and rooftop gardens, that we've got some amazing social media being posted right now, and obviously that drives that fear of missing out for customers. So it all leads back to that pre-booked experience, and all of this impacts on that pre-booking experience and driving those, to coin the phrase, the bums on seats into the business.
Yeah. Now this is it's quite a busy slide, but it's one that we've pulled together at Bums with my head of systems, because back in the day, the customer journey was kind of go on the website, make a booking, might get a phone call to reconfirm, you turn up, you get seated, you pay, at the till, you leave. Now the customer journey is, what is that, nine different points on there, which is staggering. And a bit of the buzz that we've come up with is plan, activate, deliver across all of these 9. So what I mean by that is, your website has to be very clear, as much video content as possible, minimal click-throughs to booking, really, really easy to understand, easy to find. Making sure your booking system is absolutely bang on. Your booking system is your best tool. It is your most important tool. So if you have concerns about it, please review it. There are so many systems out there. You have to find the one that works for you and works for consumer behavior now, which is a lot of it is based on, you know, multiple packages and experiences and spaces. The pre-arrival bit is absolutely pivotal. Now, we love SMS, and there's some great examples of SMS. SMS was crap a few years ago. People tried to use it as a sales tool. It doesn't work as a sales tool, but it does work as a reminder the day before for your booking, especially if it is those tables for 2s and 4s that might not turn up. It's so easy to just click cancelled or say, yes, I'm coming. So do look at your pre-arrival bit. Obviously the arrival bit, how we're checking people in, order and pay. As I said, there's so many options out there at the moment. That's not going anywhere. Feedback, you know, feed it back, Young Pingo. They do some fantastic work. Their tech is amazing. That will really, really help with that relationship and that next visit. Have you got the right CRM system? Obviously, we love Airship, but you know, the CRM bit is absolutely key to talk to customers in the right way about what they're interested in and understand intelligently who your customers are. Loyalty, gift cards, all of that, gift experiences. We've seen a huge increase in sales of those in the last 12 months, not going anywhere. And then how are we getting some rebook incentives in? And again, that doesn't have to be offer or discount led. So what I would advise is you go away and look at your business and look at these 9 points. What on here is a slam dunk, do you know is absolutely working and bang on, and what on here is your weak spots and could be better, because there are fantastic options for all of these now that exist in the market. And then on from that, we look at customer profiling, which really leads into the CRM system as well, doesn't it, Dee?
Absolutely. So we know that customer profiling is a really good way of creating a digital picture of our customers. But what we have found is that our types of customer have now crossed over. So in the customer profiling, whereas prior to COVID, we possibly very much had takeaway type customers or dine-in type customers, and there wasn't a great overlap in that. But now we found that what's changed in the consumer behavior is we've got a real overlap. So it's really interesting to have a good look at your customer profiling and understand how those different types of consumer have now crossed over and blended. So from that, you can use that customer journey to really understand what the touch points are. So as Amber took you through on the diagram, you know, there's those 9 key touch points that identify the different segments for your customer profiling, and that we've got so much better with that now, that we are no longer sending out generic blanket messaging, as Amber said, sales SMS or standard newsletter emails. We've got so much about personalization that's from that great customer profiling, and it's going to help you get as close as you possibly can to your consumers. So if you blend this tech and this information with some really good old-fashioned customer report and relationship building, you will really be reaching your customers on so many different levels in a really personalized way, that customer retention point is just going to become second nature. And as we know, so many different examples of it costs so much more for us to gain those new customers. We just need to look after the ones that we want.
And you know, it's a really difficult one, especially for casual dining. You know, how could you possibly ask a family of 4 to pay a deposit, you know, when that is a whole different way of thinking and working for the sector. But there are, you know, there's a lot of evidence actually now to show that peak customers will pay a small deposit or pay for a package in advance to secure a space at a peak time or for a specific experience. So for example, bottomless brunch, you would always enforce a deposit there. If you are busy Sunday lunchtimes, if that is your key spot, sweet spot, you know that you've always got a waiting list and people willing to book, of course you would ask for a small deposit there, but you've got to use them tactically, which is really, really, really important. And the more you create attractive packages and reasons to visit that warrants some financial gain, that warrants a pre-order, that all becomes so much easier. And then you layer that on with your SMS reminders, confirmation calls if you can. I actually think that they're still really lovely. And when you do get a little call from a restaurant, you know, to say, just want to check you're still coming, anything you need, it's great. You know, customers love that. But of course, it's labor heavy. So you need to have the right setup on site to do that, but it does still work. So I think for us on no shows, the strategy to be really sort of simple with it is, do not be scared of requesting card authentication or a small deposit, even a £5 or a flat fee for a table at your peak times, because customers will do it. And then how you manage your off-peak or your normal a la carte or your normal drink bookings, or especially in the pub sector, I know it's even more challenging. Use SMS messaging, reminder calls to eliminate that, and then underpin all of that with going, yeah, but if my customer has a relationship with me, if I'm doing all those 9 parts of the circle really well, if I'm then delivering amazing guest experience and customer service, they wouldn't dream of not turning up, because you wouldn't do that if you had that relationship. So this is all stuff that there's obviously some tech stuff that you can do, but don't forget the importance of the relationship and making sure that it's obvious why you are asking them for a deposit, because we can reduce no-shows in industry. We've just all got to do it together, and we've all got to do it tactically and strategically, because customers will pay a little bit of money for that top spot. Remembering what I said about fear being the biggest behavior driver ever. So if they think that they're not going to get it, they will put down a small deposit.
So some customer journey essentials. This is our checklist for Team Pivot, so that you've got a cross-functional trained team for reopening, and again, very much in ensuring that your team is invested. It goes back to that they need to understand your customer journey and what you're trying to achieve, to make sure that everyone that you're working with is fully invested in making sure that your reopening is an absolute success. And that's going to really help develop an agile mindset within your team. If everyone's cross-trained, if they understand the responsibility for everyone within the team, it's going to be really, really helpful to embrace change within the workplace, because we know that through this journey, we're going to continue to have these points where we're going to have to be agile and adaptive and potentially change our plans and change our course of operational logistics. So don't just create one strategy. Bums on seats, we're a big lover of plan A, plan B, and definitely have plan C ready. And when you're planning for reopening, you need to have this scalable layered planning. And again, if you're communicating that to the whole team, logistically, it's going to make things much, much easier if the guys on the ground that are customer facing are ready for this and expect that things may change. We may need to bend, flex and pivot. Within that, you're going to be able to identify if any of your team needs some refresher training or additional support. We know that we've got team members out there in some hospitality businesses that haven't actually worked for the last year, and that they're going to need some confidence, but that by having this open communication and really openness about your structure and how your planning has taken place and what could potentially happen, is going to give them confidence to return to the workplace. And that confidence in turn will really, really help to develop your customer relationships and continue to build that rapport.
Yeah. And I think this is, it's really true, isn't it? And we've just done that with our own team in terms of cross training, and it's been fundamental. As Dee mentioned, using gift vouchers for loyalty, we'll just take you through this very, very quickly. We know that it takes, it's a lot more expensive to get new customers for us than it is look after the existing ones. However, of course, every operator always wants new business, and we're not undermining that. But using gift cards to drive loyalty is absolutely a fantastic method. What's your thoughts on this, Dee?
Yeah, so absolutely. One thing that we have looked at is with this new cross type of customer profiling, whereas as before we had the takeaway customers and the dine-in customers. What we have seen some great examples of is, for instance, approaching your takeaway customers with a gifting voucher or gifting card offer for them to then use within the dine-in. And certainly another area is where people are gradually returning to the workplace. We can see lots of large corporate organisations very keen on rebuilding team engagement. And one that we've certainly had some success with our clients is approaching large local businesses in terms of offering a bulk buy of customer gifting cards that can be offered to their teams as an incentive within the workplace, because obviously they're trying to encourage their teams to come back together within the workplace and socialise. And certainly gifting card experiences is something that that corporates are actually quite keen on doing.
Yeah, it's a great shout. And we are seeing a lot of businesses starting to campaign to get people back into the workforce. And we're seeing a lot of people wanting to come back into the office on a Friday, because then they can do Friday after work drinks. So, all of these things can really support that, because we need people back in offices for footfall. We know that. So this is all quite tactical to underpin that as well. And I think that, we've mentioned it a couple of times, but thinking about those wants and needs. So, use consumer history insight to send an experience that they're interested in, as opposed to this blanket marketing. Reward your loyal customers. So don't just think about lapsed customers or new customers. As we've mentioned, that loyalty bit is so important. And look at bouncing it on a viral campaign. So ask your loyal customer to recommend a friend. All that sort of stuff is great. And again, it's like another layer, and it probably sounds like there's so much to do and so many opportunities. But once you've got loyalty into your business, it will tick along. It will just be just additional revenue. And especially we know that, we are going to start to see third-party business come back. Travel and tours obviously going to take a bit longer, but all of these kind of voucher ideas and gift voucher schemes, especially if you're lucky enough to be near key events or near key historic buildings, anything like that, this stuff can work really, really, really well. Dan, I don't know if you wanted to add on anything to at this point, because it's quite relevant to what you guys do, obviously.
I mean, what you've covered so far is absolutely incredible. So much amazing information in there. I think that what we're seeing on the gifting side of things and the experiences is this hospitality commerce, the ability for a brand to project themselves into a customer's home. A customer, if I buy my friend a gift card for your brand, then not only do I love your brand, but I think my friend will love it too. It's the number one referrer. It's like word of mouth on steroids. It's really good. So yeah, it's great stuff. Great stuff.
Excellent. And that's what we need. Word of mouth on steroids. I think that's the phrase of the webinar, Dan. I like that. I might have to steal that one. Now, opportunities in 2021. Well, the good news is that they're basically all back. So all the opportunities that we had before COVID are back, but actually a lot of them are far bigger than ever before. Christmas, it's amazing. Christmas is obviously going to happen this year. No worries about that. We know that birthday bookings, milestone bookings, anniversaries, weddings, micro weddings, hen dos, all of those things that were put on hold are going to be bigger and bolder, and customers are thinking outside the box with those elements as well. So especially weddings, they want different venues, quirky venues. They don't want the same old hotel setup, which works really well for our pub and bar and restaurant sector. People who have missed birthdays, they might be having a double celebration. Summer socials. I mean, you have to walk through, parts of Manchester or Soho, and it's just insane. So much pedestrianised areas in cities now, or even if you're in a more rural location, it's absolutely pivotal. The whole family get together on occasion is massive. Brunch, oh my God, try and book bottomless brunch anywhere at the moment. Good luck. Friends socials, office socials. As I said, offices are campaigning. We know that Thursday, Friday night, I do think it's going to start to increase, because people are going to want to be in the office on those days to go for that beer after work. Corporate meetings, we're getting loads of inquiries for corporate meetings. And obviously late night, fingers crossed for June. How amazing was Liverpool at the weekend? Thank you, Liverpool. And of course the Euros and that sports occasion as well. And we've got a couple of our clients that are fully booked already for the Euros, and they don't even have any packages. So look, this is mega. You're not going to be able to necessarily do all of these things depending on how big your team is, but you can box clever, because one set menu, one celebration, one option, one experience for the guest can work for multiple opportunities. It's just how you repackage it, how you market it, thinking about those 5 points we talked about earlier, about thinking about the customer experience, your booking systems and processes, your reasons to visit. All of this is leading on to saying, here are your opportunities. It's just down to you to create the reasons to visit within those that are right for your customer base, and thinking about new business as well, because you want to be that destination. And a lot of these opportunities are actually destination based. You have to be selected, you have to be chosen. And that's really, really important. And actually a lot of these opportunities as well, they're going to have a bit more cash. So thinking about that dynamic pricing model is going to be key for this year. So basically, what are you waiting for? Because there is so much to do and get, which is really, really exciting.
I think we've actually got the potential in our sector to be fully booked, or certainly majority booked for Christmas by the end of September, Amber.
Yeah, as long as we get some menus out there, I completely agree. The consumer confidence is there. And the vaccine rollout is helping. There's no reason why we can't make these things work. If anything, the challenge is going to be, how do you, thinking back to my points of sort of operator hints and tips for organic growth, how do you make sure that you're getting the right business and capitalizing on your spaces for you, so you're getting the most return, really? That's important. But also, what can you deliver in terms of experience? Because it's not, if you say, oh yeah, okay, great, we're going to go down the micro wedding route, you've got to really deliver that. So think about what is a slam dunk that you can deliver using your current hero products, thinking about different price points. And then there's so much opportunity to put that out there in the marketplace and really hammer that message. I mean, ultimately, we know that experience-based packages are the way forward. They still are. You match them to key trends and calendar opportunities like we've spoken about, and that will absolutely give that return on investment bit, that will give that reason to visit. And you just need to do this as a continuation. The sooner you land stuff, the sooner you get stuff, and become famous for it, and then repeat, which is all about our plan, activate, deliver element, which works really, really, really nicely for this. So opportunity-wise, it's all there for you. But just keep remembering that layer of relationship, keep remembering that booking system and how you can work with that. Keep remembering your sales processes and your transparency. You've got to almost just, these are all the touch points. If you're going to do something, you follow that same process. And therefore, there's no reason why you can't absolutely come back stronger.
Absolutely. So we know, along with these key opportunities, that there are key trends in innovation that we do need to be mindful of. So we're going to quickly whiz you through our top 10. Now, they're not actually necessarily in a top 10 order, but certainly all of these trends and innovation points all impact your pre-bookings, and ultimately they are responsible for driving those bums on seats. So first up is online gifting and vouchers. Obviously we love Toggle, and as we've spoken about, it actually takes 6 to 7 times the cost to attract a new customer. So why would we not look after the ones that we have already and make sure that our customer retention is certainly a focus within the business? We know that digital voucher sales are an absolute hit, particularly with the younger market. You can market these on social media. The sales for the younger profile of customers via social media platforms is the highest point. We know that they're sustainable, and we know that all types of consumers are now much happier with buying purchases or experience online and sending them to a gift recipient by email or digitally.
Yeah, I think we'll quickly go through this really quick, Dee. So obviously great outdoors. We know that that's not going anywhere. Rooftop gardens, if you've been lucky enough to have outside space or create outside space, keep that up. Obviously, I think heaters are bloody key at the moment. It's just a nightmare. Digital and contactless, we've talked about. We know that that's here to stay. Cashless, everything else. Have you got the right provider? Is it easy for your customer to use? Because we're seeing time and time again, someone like actually Fuller's are great at this. When you walk into the venue, they talk you through how to download the app, how to use it, how it works. They explain to you why you should bulk order and bulk buy for speed of service, which is obviously clever, because then you're getting more spend per head immediately, as opposed to waiting to everyone to order their drinks individually. So what is that to make this work really, really well, make sure your ops team are engaged and your ops team are doing their bit in terms of that face-to-face interaction. Sustainability, it's everywhere. It's absolutely vital. Actually, there's so much more focus on this year. It's a huge part in brand loyalty for our millennial sector, which of course I am one of those. So can it fit into your business model? Is it something that you should be talking about more? It's not for everybody. It's not right for everybody. Obviously, we know Brewdog have done it really well, but yes, it's still going to be a trend for the year. The occasion booking, we've talked about that loads. So the reason to visit, all of that stuff is key. What occasions can you deliver really well? How do you blow the doors off? How do you make sure that you say to yourself, yeah, but so what? Is my birthday option really the best it can be? Make sure you focus on 2-3 things in this market and do them really, really well. E-commerce, cross revenue, absolutely vital. Look at your multiple revenue pipelines, how all retail takeaway, makeaway, e-commerce, meal kits, none of that's going anywhere, but be smart with when you want to sell it, because obviously you're going to make more money at peak times of people being in your venue. So what do you turn off when? All of that falls into your overall strategy. Your F&B delivery, premiumization, all of that stuff is key. So this is really focusing on those meal kits. People are busy. People will still be working from home. This is still a market that is going to be a trend. I don't think it's going anywhere. UK staycation. We love the staycation market. We've had some real success with going to Airbnbs and doing link deals with them. If you know that you're in an area where it's popular for staycations, really capitalize on this. Think about contra deals. What can you give back in return to other hotels? Or it's going to be massive for this year. We're already seeing that. Everybody's planning at least 1 or 2 staycations. So get on board with that. It can really work for you. Hot desk co-working space. Yes, I think this is still going to be important. However, we know it doesn't make hospitality that much money, but what it can do is get new customers in through your doors. They come in, they sit there for 3 hours with a coffee and a laptop. They have a great experience, and guess what? They come back for dinner, or they get a takeaway from you, so think about it as a lever to get new business. And then lastly, vegan, low and no, the healthy guest. Absolutely, the choosing alcohol-free options is here to stay. A lot of people have switched to that in lockdown. They will still stay with that in your venues, in your businesses, and vegan is of course always here to stay as well. So think about that concept of whether it's price point, whether it's reason to visit, whether it's vegan, low and no, you need to have these options on your menu, because the one person who is conscious of this, if you don't offer it, they will go somewhere else. So that's really, really important. And that was our whistle stop tour. So thank you very much.
Wow. Yeah. Well, if I was an operator, I'd have you guys in my business. There's so much in there, so much good stuff. And I know and recognize that operators they're tight for budget for teams at the moment, tight for cash, waiting for people to open those wallets, come back into the business and spend. Really good, guys. Well done, and thank you for running our last webinar. Quick question: how long do you think the surge in bookings in advance is going to last? Is this something that's going to stick around forever now, where people who have never booked before because they just wouldn't are now just going to book in advance? Do you think?
Yeah, look, from a consumer behavioural change, everybody will continue to book. I think you will always, once restrictions are lifted, you will always have the spontaneous party and the people that book somewhere, want to go somewhere for drinks or a dinner or whatever else, and we'll try and just rock up. You'll always have that. But the majority now is going to be pre-booked 100%. And that means that your sales culture and your businesses should be focused on that. And by that, I mean pre-booked sales reports, talking about it every week with your ops teams, looking at your conversion rates, looking at your customer response time, because pre-booking is absolutely here to stay.
Long-term change in mindset and culture. Amber and I were talking earlier about pre-booking playground. Went to went to a location at the weekend, and the playground was actually pre-booked in advance, but no one found that surprising or challenging. It's now accepted as the norm, and I think that will continue for some time.
I guess if you don't make a big thing about it, it's just part of the process, and the process is good, then it's accepted.
And Dan, that's how I feel a little bit about deposits. And I know it's a contentious issue, but honestly, genuinely, people will book and pay a £5 to secure that space and that experience. And I think you know, we shouldn't shy away from that, because if everybody just gets on board with it and starts to do it tactically, then customers will do it. And then guess what? You're going to turn tables quicker, you're not going to be copped around, your labor costs go down, you know, it helps everything. And
tell me, one last one, Christmas showcases then. Do you think that, you know, do you think it's going to be back to Christmas showcase? I know they're a big part of business for some people.
I think, look, Christmas is going to be back. I think the virtual part of Christmas showcases is still important, making sure that you've got the great videography on your website. But absolutely, I think running a showcase this year for Christmas is a great idea. And you can do little Christmas hubs, couldn't you? So you could do, you know, for smaller groups, make it really intimate as opposed to the old school big 120 in a room. I think just think differently, innovate with your Christmas showcase. But get them back in. Ho, ho, ho.
Amazing. Bravo, guys. Absolutely love it. Thanks everybody for attending. This recording will be chucked up on our website in the next couple of hours, hopefully. And thanks again for dialing in to Come Back Strong. Thanks, Amber. Thanks, Dee. And we'll see you soon. Okay. Cheers,
Good luck, guys. Bye.
See you. Bye.